I think the first week always comes with a lot of like, kind of you just have to go with the meta that you think is the strongest and then play that way. And I think C9 had a really good kind of read on us and the way they played the game. And I think they both had they prepared better than us and they played better than us. So overall, that's why the series was so one-sided. So I think we're in a better spot to face them this time.
Welcome back, everybody. You're joining us for the second game in our series between TSM and Cloud9. TSM looking maybe back to form after that one, Kobe.
I mean, he talked about them feeling better. They definitely looked better in game number 1. And it really was such a big show. The analysts are talking about it a lot. You know, the Maokai, once he gets going, you know, and once TSM got to their comfort zone, grouping up the 5-man, they immediately were jumping on kills, immediately were jumping on people out of position, and heavily punished Cloud9 for a little bit of, you know, mispositioning for multiple members.
And I think there was a lot in that game. I mean, bottom lane obviously went poorly for TSM early on, but a good macro decision sort of recovered it there. And it did feel like we didn't see that much of the junglers. We were kind of looking a little bit, but Contracts was trying to push plays a little more. Sven, on the other hand, playing very passive, very defensive, and just kind of scouting with the Kazakhs. And I felt like his style was a little bit more effective that game.
Yeah, Contracts looks like he is still working on coordinating his jungle plan that he has in his head with all of his team members. And that is, that, like we were talking about, he's the newest guy on the team, and they're working on all those communication issues. But that is something that they can still improve on, even though they are the #1 team currently. One interesting stat that we did have from that last game is that Contract spent 12 seconds near impact. The jungle proximity for top lane was 12 seconds worth of game time, whereas Svenskeren was like 1 minute and 23 seconds, I believe, near Hauntzer. And if you spend this much time, you know, building up your tree and taking care of your...
watering it properly.
Exactly. You water it properly, trim it nicely, and Hauntzer grew up into a very strong oak.
Certainly did. It looked pretty much unkillable that game, so we'll see what happens in our second champ select of the series. TSM up a game versus Cloud9, looking to knock the undefeated team down a peg. Malzahar first ban once more for TSM. Cloud9 going with Varus. Should see pretty similar look, at least, to start the draft off.
Yeah, this is more what I expected from Red Sides. We're a lot more Varus finding himself, popping up over there because of the early push advantage that he gets and the great synergy with lethality. And we see some of the other ones scattered around. Again, though, Malzahar immediately off the phase, and Camille and LeBlanc still find themselves on the ban list.
So interesting to see Cloud9 ban Camille twice. Maybe Haunts has been putting practice in.
I think it's the reasons that we went over the first time, and not only does Cloud9 not really want to early round this pick, but also Impact last time he did pick it up, had some mechanical errors, didn't look too comfortable on it. So I think it is still that the same kind of reasoning there, and they're not willing, even on Red side, to use one of their early red picks on it.
Well, LeBlanc there, the TSM banned away, and Maokai actually banned by them, so showing how strongly they feel about the pick. Again, don't want to first pick up, but don't want to give it away. Going to make sure to take that one out of the pool. Cloud9, curious to see where they go with their final ban. Rengar is the obvious choice, but there's plenty that Cloud9 could do if they want to get a target ban, but instead, I'll stick with the standard.
Surprise, surprise! You're correct, Space Tree. All right, let's see what the high priority is here. Rise is available, but
Rise.
It's not Rise. And as well, I'm super fine currently trading Graves for Kazakhs. So I don't know about the very high value of that first pick, but very, very clearly, TSM value Kazakhs more than Graves.
And Rise.
Exactly. and even Rise. So Cloud9 having to...
Cloud9 could potentially pick it, and that's the issue, right? Like, Kazakh seems fine. Sven had a good game on it, certainly suits his style. For whatever reason, despite being traditionally a good Graves player, doesn't want to go to it. I mean, Cloud9 looks to be locking in Rise. I can't imagine they don't take Graves here. They could wait if they want to, but might as well not show more information.
Yeah, usually you're going to answer that role in your last pick during the first phase, so that you don't have to get banned further down. But currently, they can basically dictate another role for TSM to answer. And very clearly, Varus being banned, immediately dropped down to the Jhin. No surprise here. Sneaky Jhin, very well acquainted with his prowess on that champion. Now, yeah, you're prepping this possible take, because we did prep a different one last game, but technically you can also flex Graves into other roles.
It's kind of teasing Contracts of it, I think. Looks like they'll take Jace instead. Very likely for the mid lane, although, again, does have flexibility there. But particularly in NA, we've seen significantly more mid lane Jace. And with Jhin being taken away, I actually really like those red side first picks there for Cloud9. But Turtle doesn't want to be left alone without a good AD carry, so he'll take Ashe, who has dropped a number of positions in the metagame, but it's still very solid.
Yeah, definitely has dropped down due to not, having a good lethality build and synergy with that build. However, before the first backs and, before the items start coming in, if Jhin doesn't have his lethality purchased already, Ashe still gets pressure in that lane. Ashe can still, on the level 1 through level 4 or whatever before the first backs come, have pressure in the bottom lane. So Turtle should be feeling just fine early on. We'll see as they get to mid-game, and Sneaky starts to get his lethality. And the two of them do trade ultimates as far as trying to initiate for the team. But as far as early on, they should be just fine.
Lee Sin's interesting, though, for Cloud9. Didn't go for the Graves. That's kind of threw in their face. And now Cloud9 are starting to ban supports with Thresh, their first ban here.
It is funny because you do like to see both of these guys. Contracts and Svenskeren are those types of junglers, right, that have this Lee Sin history, and you love to see them on these explosive champions as far as being able to pull off some of the more dynamic plays early on. I'm definitely excited to look for it because maybe we talked about, Contracts wanting to work better with his teammates as far as communicating his plan that he has in his head for the jungle with the situation that the rest of the lanes are in. And with Lee Sin, I feel like you're like forced even more so to pay attention to the lanes as opposed to Graves, who's a lot of people when you're playing Graves, you kind of default into the I just need farm now.
Yeah.
It's just so easy to fall back into that.
Syndra there from Cloud9 is interesting because the Poppy ban from TSM I think makes it look like Haunter wants to play Jace and not Bjergsen. Obviously the flexibility is giving TSM some advantages here in the second ban phase, but if TSM go after another top laner, given that Cloud9 have first pick out of this phase, kind of curious to see where they go with it. They will ban Nami though, so clearly valuing that support as well.
Yeah, just a little hint there. I mean, flex picks in round 1 are definitely always super interesting. Opening that extra door you do have to think about. Let's see what Reaper's answer is as far as the first pick here, because Syndra as well taken off of that mid lane, and even though Jensen in North America has been one of the things that people really think of Syndra, like Bjergsen was one of the, even back when he was still in Europe, huge hit champion for him. So a little bit of respect there.
There's Zyra for Bifrost, so that one snuck through. With Karma being the take there for Cloud9, opting for a more defensive support. Top lane Rumble though, so Cloud9 don't take the bait. Also, they will show his top lane matchup and give Impact the opportunity to counter.
Oh, huge amounts of damage for this TSM lineup. My goodness. I don't know if you could pack more DPS in a lineup.
Yeah.
Actually, this is insane. Maybe a different AD carry for the early game, and you'd have a slightly better early group, but this is a tremendous amount of firepower. Not a lot of tankiness. So it's going to depend a lot on their skill shots landing, their use of crowd control, and whether or not they just blow up members of Cloud9 to actually reduce damage that way. Meanwhile, Impact is going to be the front line. We've come to really expect him as the tank player, the initiator, and that does kind of help with the initiator being your shot, helping out with the shot calling a lot as well.
How do you feel about TSM's comp with the fact that they banned Maokai very early? Because Nautilus is great for single target lockdown. But like you said, there's enough firepower in almost every position on TSM that one target's probably not enough to win you a team fight, whereas Maokai can kind of affect the whole team.
Yeah, and as far as Nautilus being the lone tank there, doesn't scale quite as well as Maokai. So if you have as much damage as this lineup is packing, I guess you're not too worried about that. And the main thing is going to be, who does get hit with the CC.
Yeah.
Because somebody's going to have to get hit with a Nihilus ultimate. That thing is point and click. Yeah, it's technically one person, as long as you don't flash in front of your teammates and get them also knocked up. But somebody is going to get hit by that. And it's going to be a squishy member because those are the only types of members they have.
I think this is going to be fun, certainly. TSM. Bit of a different team comp. We'll see if that kind of propels them to play even faster. Cloud9, bit more stable of a team comp. I think the teams have somewhat swapped positions as far as overall compositions go from the last game. Cloud9 wanting to play a bit more early, had a lot of damage packed into their lineup, and TSM took the team fight. Cloud9 this time going to have more of a rounded draft, and TSM looking to take things over a little closer in the mid game.
And generally, when you have one of the teams that have so much emphasis on damage in their team comp, the early game is of the utmost importance because those can snowball super heavily. But if the team with the tank gets ahead early, it removes a lot of options, and then it becomes you have to outplay. You simply have to outplay them. You simply either have to land Ash arrows to pick people off, and Rumble ult the back line, or the enemy team has to mess up and overcommit to a Zyra dive, and hopefully you turn that around with somebody sacrificing themselves.
Well, we'll see what happens in our second game as we're out onto Summoner's Rift for yet another time in the series. TSM 1 game away from handing Cloud9 their first series loss in spring 2017, but Cloud9 have dropped games already, are not looking to go down lightly here, particularly against rivals TSM.
Definitely true. TSM as well, even though we talked about they have had their fair share of struggles in spring split, and they have one of the higher game counts because their series have had quite a few 2-1 victories. Currently, as long as you get the 2-1 victory there, still puts you up there on the board, very close to Cloud9 looking around to try and take their spot. So we shall see if they're able to hand them the first loss. Off to a good start in game number 1. Game number 2, they also are off to a decent start here. They got the early ward in on Contract's starting position.
So they'll know where he is. Fenskaren on the opposite side, so we'll see if that affects the early pathing and potentially some early ganks. Feng was very quiet in the last one. Jerks in here, bit of a leash. That's very cute. Mid laner able to help out.
Yeah, it's interesting because you change the way you do these early Raptors based on the teammates that you have. Jace can land some damage over that wall, some single target, so he actually goes for the big Raptor first. But if you have something like a Maokai, you have somebody with an AoE, oftentimes it's more advisable to be able to do all the small Raptors first. Then you instantly get your level 2. You can level up your Q just in time for it to be isolated, and it makes the camp fairly trivial. But I guess because he had Jace, wanted to do that first. The problem with that type of doing the Raptor camp, though, is that you also smite earlier, so you don't gain, the full amount of health from that smite, possibly. And he definitely took a lot more damage this time around than we've seen in the past.
Well, only level 2 for Cloud9's duo lane here, so Turtle and Bifrost gonna play back for a bit. Did get some good trading between the supports. Bifrost landing some nice damage with the plants, but has a bit of a attack from Smoothie. Total dodges that W though. And Jensen with a big stack on the waves. Doesn't quite get the bounce all the way to Bjergsen, but doing Rise things here with the early wave clear.
Exactly. Trying to get the spell flex through all the minions is goal number 1. Hopefully, trying to get it to chain over to the enemy champion and get a little free harass is good.
Oh, Sven?
Sven is so low, gets the exhaust out.
Down. Jensen's still fighting. They're looking for the first blood. Jensen trying to flash up play, but there's first blood. Fenskaren.
Yeah, Jensen did immediately get out of town, try to trade for a little bit, and that is first blood TSM.
Cloud9 fans were slightly ahead of TSM in the last vote, so TSM fans after the game 1 win feeling rallied. As we'll watch this one again, Jensen just couldn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he could flash away up into the fog of war towards his Raptor camp at that point, so that hopefully Bjergsen couldn't follow, but I didn't quite see if Bjergsen was in range to flash hammer to also follow. But either way, ends up flashing and dying. Worst of both scenarios there. Well, that's going to be a big problem for the mid lane, honestly, because a no summoner Rise is a very juicy target for Kha'Zix's pressure.
See if there's a revisit then from the Fenskaren as we'll track back in with our bot lane. Looks like Total and Bifrost holding on nicely. And again, great trading here from Bifrost, although he's pretty low on mana. Sneaky doesn't quite let the Deadly Flourish go. So TSM will just play back here. And Ash, again, has really fallen down as far as strength goes in early lanes, just because of how good Jhin, Varus, and Lethality all are. So expect Total to play a little safer in this lane and then take over the mid to late game in team fights.
Interesting little interaction up on the top side with the scrying plants. Bottom lane still trading super aggressively here. Zyra Ash, no slouches to the early phase. Dishing out a decent amount of harassment themselves. Both of the AD carries, by the way. I mean, this is something that a lot of people, if you've been keeping up with competitive and the transitions towards more potion starts, the long sword plus triple pot has become super common. Even seeing a lot of boots and potion starts, going one further. But this time around, stepping away from both of those edges and not going for the Dorans or the boot starts. Nice little middle ground there.
Nice wall jump as well from Contract. Gets himself out from what looked like certain death. With Svenskeren and Bjergsen playing much better in tag team this series as well. Haunter going to try and burn this one down as Impact TPs himself back to lane. Does have a second Dorans now, plus the Corrupting Potion and a Control Ward, so Impact feeling good about his early lane position, although Haunter is up 20 CS or so. Going to see if you can catch up after he likely also teleports back to this lane.
Yeah, the Rumble, you're always going to expect to bully the lane. You don't always expect him to CS super well while he's bullying. To me, one of the most impressive things is people CSing well with things like early Malzahar, early Vladimir, early Rumble, because you know, for people less experienced on those champions, those last hits do come through a bit more difficult if they're trying to bully at the same time and go for, you know, the harassment as well, which Haunter is both doing.
Smoothie caught. Nice awareness there from Bifrost, seeing the Q come out, dodged it, and managed to get back in. Jensen now getting aggressed by level 6. Bjergsen knocks him back before he can get snared again. Nice trade pattern there from the Jace. Bjergsen a little low on mana. Looking pretty good here, and going to push the wave in and likely hit a recall. Haunter also walked it into top lane as well, so now level 6 might look to make a play with his teleport. It's going to be tricky to not get it cancelled in the face of Nautilus, though.
Definitely true. I mean, the level 6 Rumble Dragon Control is something people talked about for years, many, many years. Still is definitely a valuable point, but bottom lane is just going to back off here as Cloud9 smell the dive coming. They defensively ward and just bide their time. So it looks like we won't have the early confrontation. Teleport still is available, though.
Yeah, Svenskeren just showing bottom lane, making sure things go well there, giving time to back. Looks like C9's duo lane are staying, so they'll get their back in a little later. Although Turtle's still hanging out there, did not complete the recall. Maybe hoping something fun happens. Gonna hawk shot over, get some vision down for his team, and now Sneak and Smoothie gonna go back.
Ward here onto Svenskeren. They could burst him out very quickly if they flash.
Oh, good leap. Buzzwave, but Contact flashing in for it. Needs to kick him, not quite in range. Equalizer down, but it's a bit too defensive. Now Haunter forced to flash out from under Nautilus. Oh, he gets tagged again. Snare is up there from the hook, and the Q is going to land. Impact gets the kill.
Oh, they're eventually able to find him anyways there as Haunter uses the ultimate, even though Contracts already had pulled off there. And the deep ward pays off. Duo invade here. Contracts working with the lane members. Really, really good job here communicating with Impact. They have the ward down. Svenskeren just chased off. But then Haunter runs down to try and you know, add some support to Sven, who had already gotten away, had already escaped, and puts himself in danger.
Yep. Dies pretty cleanly there as well. Contracts couldn't get the kick on the Sven, so had it ready for Haunter for almost an execute there. It's going to give Impact some much-needed gold, getting himself a kill, so should equalize the lane as far as overall income goes.
Yeah.
Bjergsen couldn't make it there either, with he and Jensen still pushing the waves back and forth. Bjergsen trying to get a small freeze here and deny Jensen a little bit, although also make sure he stays safe here.
Let's see if Impact gets back in time to get some of those minions on the top side, because that teleport you talked about Haunter using to get back to lane after dying right there, sometimes the experience that, actually, let's just set up this bush gank.
Oh, great poke there from Bjergsen, forcing Jensen's flash, being in a chase in. Q's lands in, and his Contract Hawkshot going to spot him, though. Contract's going to make sure he stays up. Last cone used there for Sven. Jensen burns both summoners, but he does stay alive.
Nice little side swipe here from Svenskeren. Timing here with the blue, knowing that Jensen's going to path on over to go get it. One of the most classic jungler bush attempts early game, able to catch him in transition and get a large chunk of health, even though they don't convert on the kill. Look at the pressure they get from it anyway.
Yep, bonus Raptor camp for Sven as well. At least got the big one, as Contract's going to come in and clean up the little ones. Jensen wants to stay here, but he can't eat too much more poke. He does have Contracts behind him.
Yeah, trying to protect against the dive here. If he wants to stick around for these minions, he has to have Contracts showing here. And even if Contracts does show, he's got to worry about those empowered shock blasts. Bjergsen has been sneaky.
Ooh, another one there onto Jensen.
I
think now he has to be forced back here, so his greed might cost him an extra creep wave here as Bjergsen's going to try and push it in. In fact, he's just looking for it blind almost, making sure Jensen goes back to base.
And I like TSM how they're playing around this advantage they have here, continuing to keep up the pressure. using it to invade as well. Try and punish C9 quite a little bit. Oh no, though, fairly close in gold still, and first Drake still on the table, as well as first turret gold. So have to start worrying about that extra damage Bjergsen is getting on the mid lane. You don't always think that the mid lane is going to be the first turret gold, but Jace matchup, very, very, really sneaks up on you. And that could be an area that TSM actually try and push, because plenty of wards all around it. They've blown Jensen summoners over and over again. And that is one of the weakened turrets.
All right, early items coming out for TSM now. We talked about all their damage. Haunting guys for Haunter and a Ghost Blade done for Bjergsen. Bjergsen is already applying good pressure, so he should be able to parlay that into a strong 1v1 all roam if he's able to leave his lane, or maybe if TSM want to start a fight. And again, the early mid-game should look good here for TSM because they have so much damage loaded into these champions.
Exactly. We shall see if they're able to get kills. Wow. People are still spread out on the map. They do currently have some good defensive vision on top side, but it is starting to get cleaned out a little bit on the bottom quadrant. Impact goes for some 1v1 trades here with Haunter.
Comes out kind of on top. Good little play there from Impact, just using what he can in Nautilus's kit. Haunter, though, having good knowledge of what's happening in the area. Just going to take out this controller in the brush and stay in the lane. Doesn't want to get too frisky in case someone's there, but C9 again looking for this mid lane. 3 of them actually just off to the right.
Yep, again, the grouping here for working with early vision for both teams, actually. Good little bit of damage there for Jensen.
Bjergsen safe though. C9 don't opt in for a potential mid lane gank, and Smoothie just going to move in. Top lane dive being prepped though.
He's got no armor here so far.
Svenskeren looking for an impact with the flash, and the ulti flashes out. Bjergsen here as well. Poke's going to land in.
Oh, he's got it!
Flashes for it, gets him with the orders, and the depth charge just chases him away to victory.
And there it is. Bjergsen finally takes his toll. He's been pushing in mid over and over and over. Opens himself up for the roam and that possible first turret. Jensen wants to answer.
They have no one else here. This is actually quite dangerous for Cloud9, but TSM don't know that.
They're trying to focus on the minion wave and deny this first turret gold, but that could just hand over kills on top of it.
Ulti from Haunter going to try and zone them. He takes damage in on the bottom lane as the turret falls down. Bifrost getting opened up on Curtain Call in. Turtle eats 2 bullets. Smoothie trying to lock them down. He's going to just stand and fight. Almost take out Smoothie. He'll burn there from Sneaky. Turtle answers with his own, and the Grasping Roots very barely miss him. Turtle snared up there, but he will live.
How long though? Impact is coming in.
Got no ultimate, but he's going to try and go for the dive. Bifrost needs to get back and save his Q's. Q's going to miss it out. Turtle. He has to call for help, but Impact just going to keep running. I'm not sure Turtle can get out safely. Flashes out. He's going to be okay.
And meanwhile,
Jensen snares, contracts in. There's a kill for the Lee Sin.
All right, we got action everywhere. Phase 3.
No, he stayed too long now. He's snared up by the Jin. Flashes and Sneaky crits him with the last bullet. Jensen gets a snipe on the other side. Svenskeren takes out contracts as well.
More blood, more blood.
Impact dead as well. There's the double kill for Bjergsen. More blood is what you want, Kobe. You've got it. That's a mess.
All right, there's nobody left around to fight anymore. Everyone's off screen, so it looks like things are going to calm down a little bit here. Let's try and take stock of what happened after that ridiculous chain of kills across the map. It is going to result in an objective. This is clear. Okay, Drake is going to go down to TSM in the aftermath, as they were the ones that ended up with numbers advantage on the bottom side. And it's just a wave that got shoved in for Cloud9 on top side. All in all, huge advantage for TSM out of that giant fricassee. But let's try and regroup here, because that is a Cloud Dragon. Never mind, let's not regroup. Let's dive right back in.
Yeah, I mean, Impact, he wants it, but just doesn't hit the first Q.
Yeah, and Turtle had Flash there too. So, even though that came from Fog of War, he could see the hook coming and didn't use it there. So, is able to use it to get away eventually. Jensen and Contracts used Duo Flash to pick up their top side kill. And that was a long chase past the minions. So that's why they didn't get much else besides pushing those minions. There's another case of someone flashing after an auto's already been triggered. So the animation for the auto is already going for Jin. Don't bother flashing away. He's dead to rights. Bjergsen came in for that nice little snipe with his Jace shock blast. And yeah, there you go. Easy tally there.
Yeah,
they all came from.
just the casual, double 2v2 skirmish on opposite sides of the map. It's all fun and games here. Good poke from Bjergsen, though, and he's starting to hurt here. Second item not quite there yet, but he will be well on the way at 3-0-1. Arrow lands on a sneak. He actually stuns him in. TSM
Boom,
looking
boom,
for a play,
boom.
but here's Sven gonna get snared up. That's the kill for Contracts for the execute. Kill down there on a sneaky as now the Equalizer is gonna force Smoothie to flash out of the way. Bjergsen fighting 1v2. Exhaust on the Contract. Jensen wants it, but Bjergsen gonna turn out round. 1v2. No, gets shut down by Contracts.
Ding ding, round 2. Oh, here we
Smoothie's
go.
gonna go down. Perhaps Taunts are gonna burn him to a crisp. There's an easy pickup for the Rumble.
Fight, fight, fight. Nobody left on the bottom side, so that means the bottom turret for Cloud9 is also going to go down. And even though C9 cleaned up in the mid lane, they got some very, very quick kills there onto both Bjergsen and Svenskeren. They still don't win out in gold as TSM pushed through the bottom side.
In fact, TSM are still kind of gaining gold here. 3,000 gold up, so C9 are equalizing where they can, but just on the wrong end of all of these trades. That's rough. They're trying. They're clearly trying.
All right, right into Pocket War. Ah, that is too bad, bro. All right, here goes the chase. Rise ultimate, and Bjergsen gets immediately exhausted. Contracts here, able to thread right through and almost goes down. Saves his Q activation till the last moment. Knows he's going to get more out of that execute. And not scared as he just saw the shock blast come out, so he knew there wasn't another round of burst coming, and he could wait that extra auto. Whew.
This turret's going to fall as well, I think. I'm not sure Cena have enough resource to defend it. 4 members of TSM already there, and Jay should comfortably take this down with Wild Turtle in the back. Double marksman's real good for Cedars, and all of a sudden, TSM have a very strong lead.
I mean, we said it was going to be snowbally early game, basically, when one of the teams is running that much damage, and it's good for TSM if these fights are occurring in spread out places, because in a spread out place, the tank doesn't provide as much value. Tanks provide a lot more value when they are the single front line for your 5-on-5, because they're the ones that take the CC hit or take a lot of the poke on the front side. If it's spread out, damage is a lot better for the dueling, and TSM have been dueling pretty well, aside from working around that mid lane exhaust and Svenskeren being deleted from the brush.
Well, Sven actually behind him. Cena making a play, but Haunt's already making his way down here.
Look at this counter gank from Sven. This could be disastrous for Contracts. Needs to be patient and take into account the positions of all the enemies, not just...
Have they found him? There's a TP in actually from Impact.
Oh.
Haunt's is here already. I think that surprised Cloud9. Contract's going to kick him back, but he's already taken so much damage. Tries to kick him back in his Sven. Looks to get in there. Jensen locks in Haunter as Impact takes it. Bifrost needs to find the big ultimate. Gets it up, but it's not enough. Impact grabs a double kill. Arrow in from Turtle. There's going to be the counter kill. Impact goes down.
Oh, and they're not done yet. Jensen goes in for the snare.
All right, the snare lands him. Here's the ultimate from Jin. Shot onto Bifrost. Shot into him again. Fourth shot, he tanks it, making sure his team stays safe. But Jensen powered up. Looks for the realm war. Bifrost needs to land the big snare. Jensen! Oh, he goes in alone. Looked very unsafe. Looked so unsafe.
He got another summoner spell out. The exhaust from Bifrost.
Okay.
He did have to flash out, so had to pay for it. But man, this game definitely exciting. This time it went better for Cloud9. Yeah, basically you're about to say, oh yeah, this one went better because Impact got there super early on and they had the tank on the front line. But even so, he hasn't built up to the tanky phase yet. So even though he's a tanky champion, he's able to get killed here pretty early on as well. Flashes in, they lock down Hanser. They're able to take down Svenskeren very quickly as well. But again, Bifrost knocks him up into the Ash Arrow from Wild Turtle, and they take out the front line. Here goes the attempted trade. I mean, trying to snare him up so that you can land the Jin bullets. Pretty well juggled by TSM here, though. Realm Warp, let's see, they don't step on that on purpose.
Yeah.
So, didn't want to commit to that one. I guess his flash was used earlier.
Or
That
action.
was free.
1v3. Haunt's going to get out of this one. No, he can't. Smoothie gets himself a kill. Feels good for the support.
It's actually surprising to think about. Cloud9 have not killed a turret this game. They've been kind of able to keep up in these scrappy skirmishes across side, but they have never been able to push the minions. They've never been able to grab an objective afterwards. And that's why TSM are still pushing ahead here.
I mean, Jace is pretty disgusting here. Edge of Night done, an extra Warhammer there, and a bit of help from Wild Turtle wins TSM. Take their 4th turret of the game. Cloud9 playing with what they have, but running out of room to do so.
Yeah, playing with fire a little bit here.
Certainly.
As, TSM are setting up for another Drake. This should be pretty easy for them to secure. They've already got vision in place. They've got ridiculous amounts of damage to thread through the jungle corridors. So C9 not even going to walk near it, as they should. give that sucker up, and TSM will be happy to rack up Cloud Drake their names as well.
And it's just getting harder for Cloud9 to make any sort of play. I mean, you feel like the between game pep talk was something like, we didn't play aggressive enough. Make sure you be nice and proactive. And Cloud9 have certainly taken that part of the advice, maybe to its extreme. But I mean, with these turrets all still up, TSM has just had free reign to maneuver around the map and start the play, and Cloud9 are left reacting this whole time.
So what Cloud9 need to do now, there definitely is room for them to make up a lot of ground if they can force these turrets. Because they don't have they don't have any outer turrets, and they also don't have a secondary turret on bottom side, it's up to them to start getting those minions moving. And then if they can, force up and try to start getting this standing gold with impact there at the start of a fight, that would be where they try and get back into it. But even if he is there, as we said, he hasn't gotten to a super tanky spot at the moment. He's still definitely going to be a huge aid in stopping things like Svenskeren on the Kha'Zix from jumping in. Even Bjergsen from going hammer form has been a huge source of TSM's DPS.
Another 2v2 brewing here. Jensen's booking it. Sven going to try and catch him, but he comes down the outside of the ward.
Yeah, Sven walked over this ward in the river, so that's why C9 didn't go for this. They had a little bit of warning ahead of time.
You can just see how far behind they are in waves, though. I mean, Haunter answering in the bottom side. Smoothie gets tagged. Huge chunk by the Jace. Almost got himself two-shot there. And now this tower's under siege. I mean, Cloud9, what can they really do in this situation?
Well, they can get chunked out really heavily under turret if they... Yep, there it is.
Sneaky lost more than 50% of his health. That turret's dead. And this Jace is just taken over. 4 kills already for Bjergsen, 2 lethality items, and more coming quickly in 22 minutes. Cloud9 are getting stifled out by TSM, and they are not playing this one slow.
Yeah, Bjergsen was playing Jace the other night on his Smurf account, and he had games that look very similar to this, where he's just in solo queue doing the exact same thing. Right now, though, doing it to the #1 team in the North American LCS, and TSM are very close to handing them their first series loss. Contract's trying to flank around them. C9 are looking for a flank play because all the members of TSM are squishy. If you knock one in, away from the rest of them.
This is good, but Turtle flashing into the gym bullet. Now the rest of the squad's here. Turtle gonna get knocked up and blown up. Sneaky claims that one. Haunter trying to cut him in half as Svenskeren chases down Sneaky. Exhaust is down Sven.
One by
That's gonna cost
one.
him his life. Cloud9 punishing the overstepping TSM. The poke is still too much. Cloud9 might have to back out. Bjergsen, can he smell blood?
He definitely sees a lot of low health members, and we've seen how much damage that Shock Blast does. If it lands on Sneaky right now, he's dead. Jensen almost dead, and Impact should be able to survive. But man, Cloud9 able to jump on this opportunity. Nice coordination there with opening up with the Jhin to control that area, and then having the good flank from Contracts as well as Realm Warp. All these had to combine for them to pick off a couple of kills from TSM, though, and still 0 turrets taken for Cloud9. They're just trying to claw their way back in with kill gold, which takes a really long time. Svenskeren there, this was definitely ill-advised on Kha'Zix jumping in. Bjergsen was super far away. That's where a lot of the power is here from TSM. So definitely over-aggressive there, and Svenskeren does need to calm down a little bit.
Well, Black Cleaver now finished for Bjergsen, so another strong 3-item spike for himself. Jensen keeping up much better in CS this time around as Turtle eating chunks out from Sneaky's Jhin. They're trying to defend this turret, but Cloud9 looking to push. Back off for now.
And they do have to do some work as far as the defensive vision. That's your first step in trying to get more of those pickoffs. More of these isolated kills on squishier targets.
Ghostblade being answered. Good dodge of the arrow there from Sneaky. Extra speed from Karma. Able to help out there. That poke misses. Sneaky juking downright. Gets out of the way of that one. Haunter and Impact, though, looking for a battle, and Haunter's soundly winning. Impact forced to burn the ulti.
And Bjergsen is running down right now. Blast Cone available to jump over there even quicker.
Doesn't even need it.
Nope.
There's the first bit of poke. Black Cleaver should shred through this. Bjergsen slams him down, and Haunter gets a kill.
What are Cloud9 going to do on the opposite side? They should at least... Okay, turret's already dead. I was going to say go for the turret, but that one took a long time coming. They finally get some of that tower gold, but they have to answer this push. Jace has been just annihilating turrets all across the map, and Bjergsen and Haunter have already pushed up all the way to the inhibitor turret. So again, C9 not going to be able to control their own jungle, as TSM should be able to lay behind wards.
Gonna double back and actually siege up the mid lane. Bjergsen gonna find a Jhin trap, barely misses that one. Onto Smoothie and Sneaky. Could have got almost a whole champion's worth of damage if you hit them both. Instead, TSM try and break this last tier 2 turret.
Impact does have teleport, but look, the wards, TSM are controlling so much of the map right now. C9 haven't had an opportunity to place deeper wards. You need those deeper wards for the flank for Impact if he's reviving from Fountain. Otherwise, you know, it's really difficult, especially how slow Nautilus is, to try and get in there on a good angle. And C9 gonna have to probably give up another Drake. It is an Ocean Drake and a late game Ocean Drake, so it's not the worst thing for them to give up. But TSM might want to only send maybe 1 or 2 people to it because C9 are hovering around the Baron area.
TSM also have the option to just push down mid here, but can't see enough of Cloud9 for that to be safe. Might just leave Bjergsen to do the objective. It's up now, and he is going to start it. So Cloud9, a little hesitant to start the Baron buff here. Bjergsen should get this.
Yeah, sending only 1 person over gives you enough control of the mid lane as well as the area leading up to Baron that it really dissuades a team that's already behind from going from even a super risky play over on that side. But you can see Cloud9, that's the only area they have vision control of. So Impact's trying to wait on these control wards and then trying to pop out and catch someone by surprise from TSM, but they are not giving Cloud9 an opportunity yet. We shall see if C9 can pull another, you know, Realm Warp plus Jhin ultimate cover fire play coming down to try and pick off some low health members.
TSM still playing this one kind of slow here. Know that they've got the Ashe scaling up. Know that Jace will be stronger for a little while longer. And again, TSM are comfortable with the lead they've got. You've kind of pointed this out already. This game is well within touching distance, actually, for Cloud9, mainly due to the fact that there are so many turrets left for them to take in gold, and TSM are only up about 4,000 gold. With a 5-turret differential, that's actually pretty good for Cloud9. They just can't afford to lose anything major. That would be an inhibitor turret at this point or a Baron buff.
Definitely true. And that's why we keep re-emphasizing that defensive vision line, which they are working on.
I mean, it's slow. It's slow for Cloud9. They know they have to play it very patiently. TSM are not overstretching either, kind of waiting for their opportunity. If they see a moment, they'll likely get in and be quite decisive about it. Contracts looking to make a big individual play, but that's too risky.
Yeah, it's interesting there. If he goes for the Q on Baron instead of the Q on Zyra, you do more damage, even though you don't hit Zyra, because Baron is going to get off at least 2 autos, and those will do more than just the first half of Q lane.
Ooh,
very, very small, little nitpicky thing there, but...
Those are the things that often matter. Still a pretty tense situation. TSM ahead, but not massively.
Oh, he's going in!
Impact in. He's going to try and set Wild Turtle. Sphinxarian in the firing line as well. Flash out from Impact. Goalless Haunter lays down the equalizer.
Super good reactive equalizer there from Haunter. As soon as Sneaky opens up, he lays it down to force Jhin to cancel the ultimate and leave, because there's no way you can continue to channel on top of the Rumble ultimate. So TSM do stop that engage.
And this is part of the problem with Cloud9 having such a small percentage of the map being theirs. They can't stop this as TSM just goes straight through mid. Or they're seeing that looking to wrap around for the flank. Haunter tagged by a Deadly Forester, jumping on a Jensen's finger to zone him out. Bjergsen eats the ulti and is Bifrost with a good defensive ult. Haunter staying alive for a little longer with the Zhonya's, and now Impact gonna get turned on. Contract takes him down. The turtle hooked up by Impact. TSM getting chased out of Cloud9's base. Bjergsen just has to keep juking. Contracts almost gets him and will nail Sphinxarian. Now the Realm Warp looking for Bjergsen. He's gonna try and take them down, but the exhaust is enough. Bjergsen just can't get it.
TSM pinned themselves inside of Cloud9's base, and Impact got to play the front line role. Finally for Cloud9, they find their team fight set up with their tank, and they were able to pick apart these squishy members on TSM, even around the Zyra ultimates that almost was able to zone off enough time for TSM to get DPS. But it looked like TSM, once they were pinned inside, they kind of scattered a bit. You know, Sphinxarian goes hard on top side, while Haunter is zone-using on top of the Zyra ultimate, and they weren't really able to get out a lot of DPS there. This is the fallback of not having a tank on your team and trying to fight, you know, in enemy territory. They just get closed in from all sides, and Cloud9 ripped them apart.
Cloud9, they're gonna get the Baron, but it might cost them more. Jensen, good Zhonya's. As Haunter tries to take him down, but here's Bifrost looking for the plants. Jensen likely gonna die. He doesn't have a flash. He's gonna fight his way out. Takes down now, no rumble, but it gets shut down by Turtle.
Oh, goodness. This is going to give Cloud9 so much time to even up gold. We mentioned all the standing golden turrets. Those things should be able to fall over like paper at the moment. Baron buff going to help them push outside of the base. And this was at the brink. TSM almost were, I mean, they were literally inside the base.
Yeah.
They almost took down it up to the inhibitor. They took the inhibitor turret, but Cloud9 on the edge of falling over here and really the brink, but able to get that huge team fight inside of their own base, pin TSM against that wall, and now they've got Baron buff. Let's see how big this Baron power play is, because it should be a large one for C9.
Well, they can make up a lot of ground in this game if they can do good damage. TSM still up, despite the fact that Cloud9 have brought the gold back an awful lot closer than it was before. TSM still loaded with damage as Bjergsen finished off his last Whisper and moving in towards that Mortal Reminder, and Taunter as well. Void Staff plus 2 of the damage items. I mean, everyone but Turtle is waiting on that IE for his 3rd item. Pretty much ready to go. So Cloud9 can't be too reckless with a team fight.
Definitely true. Still have to be very cautious. There's still a ridiculous amount of damage on the TSM lineup. At this point, though, it becomes TSM kind of have to divvy up some options here. I mean, you need people to at least, some people go bruiser. You know, you don't have any full tanks, but people need to get some semi-resistances, some semi-survivability, so that somebody is able to be in the front while everyone gets off their DPS. If everyone builds full DPS, but they're too scared to fire off any of their abilities, you're not getting value out of those items because there's no front line for you to fire behind from. That's why the standard team comps do involve those front lines. But Kha'Zix is an option. He can definitely go bruiser. He's going in.
Oh, look, Arrow looks for Smoothie. His Impact gets himself out with the blast gun. Sven locked up. Contract fires in. Who's going to land? But good ult from Sven's going to keep him alive. Jensen, in the meantime, working on the turret in top lane, does take it down. Impact there for a bit of safety. Cloud9 starting to take these turrets.
Yep, the turrets begin to fall. Now they're rotating mid. The outer ones should be pretty decently easy, unless a lot of this poke lands onto super high priority targets on the back line. That's not going to do enough there. And more gold into the Cloud9 war chest here.
Now C9 working towards the Drake as well. I mean, all of a sudden the gold is even, and Cloud9 still have a lot of turrets to make up for. So they're in a huge position to just not even the game, which they've now done, but take it over. They're going to deny this other Cloud Drake. No poke or steal forthcoming.
Rally caps are on for C9. They get a Drake for themselves. They should be able to chain. 27 seconds is plenty of time to get another turret. So they got 3 turrets, maybe 4. I think that was 3 turrets for themselves, plus a Drake. Very big rewards off of that team fight. Not to mention the team fight gold, plus the Baron gold. So this is a completely different squad. And they're actually going to get another amount of pressure here on secondary.
Should have enough here. TSM just can't clear out the Baron up minions.
4 seconds left on the Baron buff, starts the timeout.
Drops off now. TSM likely can defend, and C9 knowing this, they're going to back off. Impact looks for a hook on a Sven. Sven does not bite. The TSM have a wave to deal with in topside, and Cloud9 should get away scot-free after now getting themselves ahead in the game.
Definitely can have a sigh of relief here for Cloud9 and the Cloud9 fans, as that was close, for TSM to really push back past the teetering point, but huge recovery here with Impact getting in there. Now they're all hitting their level 16s as well, Contracts and Impact. So Cloud9 coming back firing.
Should be in good position to take over the next fight, but no major objectives up just yet. TSM should be able to repel the waves, and if they can find a pick or enough poke, that's likely enough, but they have to play it carefully.
That's right. TSM, they would love to find someone in a position to Ash Arrow, but Cloud9 have actually done quite a good job of avoiding those thus far.
Yep.
They do again.
All 4 of them get out of that one. Jensen bottom side, so they're trying to start a fight. Impact burnt down, but very tanky with the Nautilus.
Arma shields, they almost take 0 damage there, and that is 2 very big ultimate use from TSM. So C9 now, plenty of room to work with.
Love the Mikhails there from Smoothie as well as Jensen working on something solo. Might have got himself caught. Sven Scaring going to slow him down. Jensen getting chunky. Realm warps out. Sonya's very cute.
Not going to burn any summoners. Just goes for the Zhonya's activation. It is a pretty long cooldown now that it was nerfed a little bit too, but much rather hold on to the flash instead, and Cloud9 do get to push up in mid as well. TSM are trying to rotate back and forth between mid and bottom turret to hold these minions, push Cloud9 off, and they've definitely got plenty of DPS to clear out minion waves quickly, so it's making those moves from mid to bottom pretty easy for them. Cloud9 don't necessarily want to dive at this point, because if they do mess it up, then TSM don't have a lot of, defenses they have to break through to actually end the game. But Cloud9 definitely doing much better about the scenario.
And it's just such a tense game at this point. A minute up till Baron. Both teams have more than enough DPS to take it down. Enough tools in their compositions to find a good pick or start a team fight. Because TSM, despite how frail their comp is, they'll still win a team fight if they set it up correctly.
Exactly, and it's just that there's a high barrier of execution here on TSM's side. They need to work around their abilities. The invulnerability of Hanser with his Zhonyas on the front line. Rumble can really be a deceptive frontliner. When he lays down the ultimate, he gets his Flame Spitter running while the Zhonyas, it buys you a few seconds. Then, you've got Zyra ultimate. That's a huge space that buys you a few seconds. If you work around the Ash Stun and the snares here, these little few seconds that you add up over and over, if you're able to DPS down one of the squishier targets, then that's how you can still win team fights with these super DPS heavy comps, if you're able to kind of work around and get those priority targets. But if you have to go through Impact, the GA full tank Nautilus, then it makes it slow going, even for this squad.
Unfortunately for Bjergsen, the poke is just not doing as much anymore. There's some sort of spell shield on a lot of these members. Jensen's pretty tanky, Nautilus obviously very tanky, and even the Mikhails plus the shield and the locket there for Smoothie. Bjergsen's going to have to get down and dirty if he wants to do real damage in a fight.
Plus, TSM are losing control of their wards. Because Cloud9...
Oh, that was an interaction! Bjergsen caught out, Impact going to knock him over with the ultimate, and there's the kill! Firefrost with a nice ultimate, but he gets locked up on the other end. Now Jensen chasing in as a good flash gets him out. Equalizer almost takes out everybody else. TSM on the run.
Yeah, Cloud9 have the inside track down mid lane, though. They should be able to get control of those minions. They're actually looking to pressure TSM and force later backs. They're teleporting behind them to trap them in.
Gonna cut everybody off here. TSM have to run the opposite way. Sneaky gonna find Hanser. Hanser gonna try and take one down, but a flash out from Smoothie as Hanser presses on his button. Contract's unstoppable. Takes down another. No tag there, but Sneaky's in. There's the Realm Orb. Turtles left out to dry. Firefrost not enough to snare them up, and he dies after the flash.
Surprise! Jensen's here again, able to jump on them, and C9 should be able to get another slick bear in there. Contracts right on in top of it. Sven Scarrett
Impact needs to get in there, though.
Did Sven do a miracle steal?
I mean, he's going to get hit up here by Impact. Impact's trying something. Sven looking to take them out, but Sneaky just kites him back. Baron now to Cloud9.
Cloud9, another team fight victory, another Baron for themselves. And that late game insurance policy of the tank pays off again. As he said, TSM were losing control of their wards. Impact runs up the river and right into the team.
And now Elder Dragon up in 10 seconds. Cloud9 still got lots of work to do, still behind 3 turrets, but have a gold lead building, 4,000 gold up. Complete control of this right side objective with the Baron buff ticking away. And TSM are struggling to find a fight that works for them. They don't have that many options left. C9 know it. Firefrost going to get 1v1 by Contract. Very stylish ward hop kick.
All right, that's probably going to be Elder Dragon as well, because Sven is going to be coming from base. The possible steal would maybe be a Hanser coming up from bottom lane and wasting his ultimate, but I don't think he even throw that, as that's one of your only hopes for winning a team fight. So C9 should be able to get both Baron buff and Elder Dragon buff for their last push.
And now Cloud9 looking to end this game well and truly. They held on for TSM's 26-minute assault. And now it's Sneaky's turn. Spence Guerin hops away from the next bullet. Impact straight onto Bjergsen. Turtle going to get knocked up as well, but back to the safety of the turret. Snare not going to land, but now the inhibitor turret is ripe for the picking. Cloud9 take it down easily. Span has to get zoned out again by a Nautilus hook, and TSM just don't have enough health to withstand this push.
Take their time here. Wait for another round of minions to buff up with Baron. They're still very comfortable with the super late game boss. Here comes C9.
Cut off ultimate, not enough. Bifrost with a big Stranglethorns. And now Impact getting burnt down. TSM might have found enough. They get the GA off of the Nautilus. Hanzo though goes in, his contract gets exhausted, hops his way out, but he dies as Sneaky goes off again. Turtle caught up by Impact. Jensen's gonna get the next kill, and it's just two easy ones for Cloud9. Realm Warp in, looks for Bjergsen, he's got a spell shield. Impact, the only one in as they take down the inhibitor.
It's always so comical when one person low health shows up on the Realm Warp. And it is still going to be Cloud9 working towards the Nexus turrets and looking to even up our series, Pastry.
Vanskaren looking to get some work done on the flank, but he can't find the right angle. Impact finds him, and he's dead. Cloud9 pushing in towards these turrets, and TSM not much left to defend with. Bjergsen going to get zoned out by Jensen. Next year's turret's going to fall down, and Cloud9 say, you want the crown? Come a little harder next time.
Cloud9 rally caps on. Push this to game number 3. Man, we are still the team to beat in the North American LCS.
TSM's comp looks so good. They had the snowball rolling. And a slight overstep in mid lane. Taking the turret, but just being completely caught. Turned the game around for Cloud9.
Always got to be careful when you're running against the tank insurance policy. And
Impact's pretty good
yeah,
at short
paid
range.
off. It was so close too, because that was almost an inhibitor push, and whew, yeah, big plays from Impact, big plays from the team turning that around. Definitely a little close for comfort for Cloud9 fans, but I'm so glad we get to push this to a game number 3, because top of the table for these guys, even though there were various things that were critiquing both these teams for in the early parts of the season. Get to see a little bit more action.
Certainly is. I mean, that was just quite a game. And Cloud9, it's interesting, right? They only really had one play, which was to keep vision around the Baron and go from there. TSM, I think, gave them another avenue that they didn't have to, and I like the theory behind the play, because, okay, we have this path, we can take it and force something, but Cloud9 saw that and just found the maximum punish.
Yeah, it's a little balancing act, because you don't want to let up too much on the gas and let them just farm out easily under their inhibitor turrets, but also have to be careful about pinning yourself down. And C9 did a good job recovering right after that. That team fight victory right into the Baron, getting a tremendous amount of gold off of it, and then able to finish it out as well.
And even then, Hanzo almost killed all of them by himself, teleporting in towards and trying to stop the Baron attempt. Like, that was close, but for more on a deeper dive on how Cloud9 fought tooth and nail for that win, let's hand it off to Dash and the analysts.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. An absolutely absurd victory there out of Cloud9 in a kill-filled second game here of the series between them and TSM. I want to start off talking about champion select, because you brought up the point moving into game 2 here that you love the way that Hanser played on that Maokai game 1. There are still questions around how he'll play on carry-oriented champions. Well, lo and behold, TSM goes and drafts themselves into a Rumble composition. What was your opinion on how he performed here in the second game?
I will say he did get pressured. Contracts did go up top side. Level 6 ended up killing the jungler and him. However, his ultis just weren't that good. Like, I just seen a series where Flame on the Immortals lands like some of the best Rumble ultis I've seen this year. And then it follows up with Hanser's Rumble, and I'm just like, there's a huge difference.
Right, I mean, kind of what you were saying is just like a lot of those deaths that happened to him would happen to most top laners. Like, Contracts was playing really well in terms of getting up there, making the plays happen, but at the same time, once you get out of those couple of kills, it still wasn't a great performance out of Hanser.
Absolutely, and here's the thing. If we take a look at what Bjergsen and Svenskeren did in the early game here, you would almost wish that Hanser were on a tank following all this, because you see these roams and the kills picked up by your carry jungler and your carry mid laner. You just now need a front line for these two guys to go run amok, but you don't have it.
And this is one of the few times I've seen Bjergsen look to like roam and work with his jungler a lot. In this situation, he sees that Sven's under cover, like goes to help him out. This situation, perfect situation, jungle and mid laner roaming top lane to get a kill. And Bjerg comes in, gets a free kill, and this is how they blow open the game. They do this here, and Bjerg even cleans up bot side as well.
Right, so it feels like this is exactly what you expect out of TSM, where we were saying this is where they might match up really well against C9. Their jungler mid pressure, and they go and spread it to other lanes, something we say C9 is not the best at. But despite how well things were going early on, their problems still manifested later with their team comp and not being quite as comfortable on something where they can't follow someone in.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Here you've got Bjergsen with 3 kills and Svenskeren with 2 kills pretty early on into the game. All right, we're covered on the damage front. Now, if only we had somebody who could really pull the trigger and engage, like a Maokai or a Nautilus. Yes, we can Rumble ult from range, and there are ways to craft engages around the Rumble. And I'm not saying that Rumble's a bad pick.
Right.
But in this situation, a team like TSM, they don't maybe need to stretch to those carry junglers. Just pick up the W with a formula that you know will work.
And I think that is kind of the case where you saw something work fairly well last game, and the draft did play out differently this time. They banned the Maokai themselves, things like that. But
right.
I don't think that they needed to do the Rumble. There was a concern about the lack of magic damage. I mean, you do have the Zyra coming in, but that was something we criticized them last week about not having enough magic damage. So I like the idea, but the execution just wasn't there.
Well, now let's talk about the way that Cloud9 climbed back into this one, Scara. I know that you had some thoughts on contracts, particularly on this Lee Sin pick.
So I've been very critical about contracts throughout the entire year. I think he's been looking like average on a team that's top of the rankings, which means that I don't think he's playing too well. But whenever I see his Lee Sin, I'm like, wow, it's really good. In fact, he got famous on his Lee Sin. Like, he's known alongside Darlic as playing a very, very good Lee. And I think a lot of it depended on, when I saw the game, where does he go at level 6? Instantly he hit 6, went top lane, got a double kill. And he's a key reason why their team came back into the game.
Yeah, mechanical outplays left and right. You saw them on your screens just there. Cloud9, that is, probably prepping for game 3, trying to figure out what the heck they're going to do back on blue side. Let's take a look at the fight, though, that really turned it for them. In their own base, backed up against the wall here, 5-for-1 for C9.
And this is just a mistake by TSM. Your comp is like basically all range. You want to be able to kite back and kite away. What do? You end up pinned in their base, and this is such a hard fight to win from this position. This is a huge ultimate by Impact, knocks up like basically the entire backline of TSM.
Disgusting.
And now they can't get out anywhere, and they're basically pinned in here. C9 is able to focus down the basically non-existent front line. They take multiple people out. Hanser's caught out in the middle of the team, and then TSM's trying to disengage through turrets. So they pinned themselves into a really awful spot when the game was going pretty much fine. It was true they were trading too many kills back and forth. Hanser was dying too much, but they didn't need to opt into this situation where it ends up in some kind of weird turret race.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to pick up the Baron off of that. That's going to give them away right back into the game, evening up, even a gold advantage. Let's take a look at the last fight of the game here, Scara. Look how it all played out to finish it up.
And this is after they got their Baron buff. And TSM tries to force an engage a little bit here. The Ashe ult was nice, the Zyra ult's nice, all the layers nice, but the Rumble ult basically whiffed. And this is one of the things we were kind of criticizing Hanser about for the better part of this game, was that he didn't have those huge flame-like Rumble ults. And then a nice re-engage by Impact, sniping out Turtle, and then he's basically blown up. So.
I think in all these team fights, you look at Contracts, you look at Impact. Contracts got Impact the lead early, and Impact played these team fights out really well. Something that like TSM wished they had throughout this entire game was a competent front line. And they never had that. Well, C9 had a really good one.
Exactly that. Impact will pick up player of the game as we roll out the rest of this clip and watch C9 kill the Nexus. But Impact picking up player of the game, particularly for shutting Hanser down in those team fight areas. As you mentioned, there was a lead established for Hanser, at least in terms of CS early on, but that return gank from Contracts really punishing and helped turn that lane, put Impact in a place where he can get tanky enough to engage and play that single front line for the rest of the team.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough matchup. They took the Nautilus into the Rumble, and that's basically opting into losing the laning phase. That happened as expected. TSM had some nice roams to keep shutting down the Nautilus, but once they got out of that laning phase, Impact played the team fights extremely well and set his team up for a lot of the important wins that they got there.
Yeah, I'm looking at Wild Turtle's damage there on the Ashe, and I have to put either throw some criticism there, or I have to wonder how much of that is a product of the fact that he didn't have a front line. So he wasn't ever in a position to really put out the DPS.
Like, if you look at this entire, all the team fights played out, what was similar to with CLG and TSM? Kha'Zix on both games ended up jumping in too early, and like the fights were so weird when he jumped in. If you're playing Kha'Zix in these types of poke comps, you have to poke first with W and set up the fight for your team to poke them down before you commit. Instead, in all these situations, Sven jumps in early, gets exhausted, he can't do anything, game's over.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Impact is picking up player of the game here. Let's go ahead and take a look at his stat line real quick just to support this. But, this guy has been a rock for the team, and it's pretty crazy to think that with Ray on the roster as well, and we've seen him swap in and out, the direction and focus of the C9 10 squad when Impact is in the lineup is unquestionable.
Right, and he is such a vocal part of the team. They say he doesn't do a ton of shot calling, but he knows what each team needs, like each person should be doing on the map at a time.
Right.
He helps with lane assignments, helps with target selection, helps with their overall game plan in terms of what they should be doing next. So huge contribution, not just in terms of the fact that he's a stellar player, but he helps focus the team on what they should.
All right, we're going to game 3, so I'm going to make you guys make a prediction here. Does our #1 team, Cloud9, remain undefeated halfway through the split at 9-0, Skara, or does TSM take them down for the first time this year?
I actually think TSM has been playing better than expected throughout the series.
Okay.
I think they win if Hanser's on the tank.
All right, and what are you thinking over here,
I'll say
Mark?
C9. I don't think TSM will be able to make an early game quite this strong again, and they clearly struggle still a little bit in the late game.
All right, it's a close one, folks. It's been a bloody series so far, but we still have a game 3 coming up. So meet us back here to see if Cloud9 or TSM take the match. You won't want to go anywhere. You're watching the North American LCS.
A smudge on my screen on the right side. Like, oh, you drama queen.
Okay, I'm good.
I mean,
A single smudge? Do you need a pillow as well?
It's like,
Hanser though goes in, his contract gets exhausted, hops his way out, but he dies, the sneaky goes off again. Turtle caught up by Impact. Jensen's gonna get the next kill, and it's just too easy once for Cloud9.